Hey there, welcome back to the channel. They thought you'd crack. They were convinced that sooner or later you'd reach out, apologizing, begging, explaining. They thought you needed closure. But instead, you did something they never saw coming. You went silent. You pulled away. You gave them absolutely nothing. And now, it's driving them insane. Because silence is powerful, it makes people question everything. It forces them to sit with the consequences of their actions. And right now, they can't believe they lost control over you. See, when someone mistreats you, when they ghost you, play games, or act like you don't matter, they expect a reaction. They expect you to chase them, to demand answers, to cling to what's left. Why? Because that reaction gives them power. If you beg, it tells them they're still in control. If you argue, it means your emotions are still invested. If you lash out, it confirms that they still matter to you. But when you go silent, that's when everything shifts. Because silence is not nothing, silence is everything. It's the loudest response you can give. It says, I don't need you. I'm not waiting for you. I refuse to play your games. And suddenly, they don't feel so powerful anymore. Now they're left alone with their thoughts. No more ego boosts. No more reassurance that they have a grip on your emotions. Just a deafening silence that forces them to confront a truth they never expected. You were stronger than they thought. And that kills them. Because now the roles have reversed. You were supposed to be the one struggling. You were supposed to be the one missing them. But instead, they're the ones losing sleep, checking their phone, wondering why the hell you're not reacting. They might pretend they don't care. They might act unbothered. They might even try to convince themselves that you were never that important to them. But behind that facade, they're panicking. They're overthinking, they're second-guessing, they're wondering if they misjudged you entirely because they expected a weaker version of you. They expected the old you, the one who tolerated their nonsense, the one who always reached out first, the one who never knew their own worth. But now, they don't even recognize you. And that's power. So what happens when you refuse to give them the reaction they expected? Why is silence the one thing they never saw coming? And how do you use this to your advantage? Let's get into it. Number 1. They never thought you'd be this strong. They expected weakness. They expected you to need them, to need validation, to need answers, to need something. But your silence, it shows them that you don't need a damn thing from them. And that realization, it hurts. Because when someone thinks they hold power over you, the most shocking thing you can do is prove them wrong. You see, when people treat you poorly, they secretly expect to get away with it. They count on your emotions keeping you stuck. They count on your attachment being stronger than your self-respect. But by staying silent, you're proving that your self-respect is unbreakable. And now, they're the ones feeling abandoned. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd come running back, desperate for another chance. But your silence, it's forcing them to sit in the mess they created. It's making them realize that maybe, just maybe, they weren't as important to you as they thought. And that's a terrifying thought for someone who believed they had the upper hand. Because people who manipulate, play mind games, or treat others like an option, they don't actually want to lose you. They just want you to fear losing them. And now that they see you don't, their entire perception of you has changed. You're no longer the person they took for granted. You're no longer someone who is easily controlled. You're something else entirely. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that is exactly what your silence is showing them. That you're not controlled by emotions, that you're not driven by desperation, That you, and only you, have power over your reactions. Because strength isn't about yelling. It's not about proving a point. It's about knowing when to walk away. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that nothing, not even the people who hurt you, can make you break your peace. And now, they're the ones panicking. They're the ones checking their phone, wondering why you haven't reached out. They're the ones feeling rejected because your silence. It's louder than any words you could have said. It's telling them everything they need to know. That you have evolved, that you have grown, that you have stepped into a level of self-respect they never expected you to reach. And that is the greatest power of all. Number 2, they realized they didn't matter as much as they thought. They thought they were irreplaceable. They assumed that no matter what they did, you'd always care, that you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, watching. But now that you've gone silent, now that you've given them nothing, they're starting to question everything. What if they weren't as important as they believed? What if they were never as special as they assumed? What if you've already moved on? And that thought, it kills them. Because people crave significance. They need to feel like they left an impact. That's why when most people walk away from a relationship, they still expect to live in your mind. They still expect to be the name you whisper when you miss someone. They still expect to be the ghost that haunts you when you're alone. But when you go silent, you take that away from them. You don't give them the satisfaction of knowing that they still matter. You don't give them the comfort of believing they still have space in your mind. And now, they're the ones struggling to make sense of it all. Because silence is brutal. It leaves room for doubt. It forces them to ask questions they never wanted to ask. Was I really that special to them? Did they ever really love me the way I thought? What if I was just another chapter in their story, and not the main character? That possibility is a nightmare for someone who thought they had you wrapped around their finger, because in their mind, you were the one who needed them. They thought they were the prize. But now that they see you don't need them, now that they see you haven't been chasing, they're realizing the truth, that they were never as important as they convinced themselves to be. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And right now, that's exactly what's happening to them. Your silence is forcing them to suffer in their own imagination. They don't know if you're missing them. They don't know if you're suffering. They don't know if you've already met someone else and completely forgotten they exist. And because they don't know, their mind is racing with worst-case scenarios. They're picturing you laughing, unbothered, living your best life without them. They're imagining you in someone else's arms, giving your attention, your love, your energy to someone who isn't them. And that's driving them insane, because when someone thinks they own a place in your life, the most painful thing you can do is prove them wrong. So don't break your silence. Don't give them the validation they're craving. Let them sit with their doubts. Let them wonder if you ever truly needed them at all. Because the second they realize they didn't matter as much as they thought, that's the second you take back all of your power. Number 3, they start doubting their own worth. Silence is a mirror. It forces people to look at themselves, without distractions, without excuses, without someone else to blame. And right now, they hate what they see, because when you were there, when you were still talking, still explaining, still trying to fix things, they had an escape. They could deflect, they could shift the blame, they could twist reality to make themselves the victim. But now, your silence is forcing them to sit with the truth. And the truth is this: they might be the problem. That thought alone is enough to send someone spiraling. Because no one wants to believe they're the reason things fell apart. No one wants to admit they destroyed something good. And yet, with every day of your silence, with every moment you don't reach out, a new question creeps into their mind. Did I mess up? Did I lose something good? Am I the one who caused this? And the worst part, they can't ask you, because you're gone. That's what makes silence so brutal. It leaves no room for false comfort, no reassurance, no easy answers. And now they're doubting everything, their choices, their worth, their own sense of reality. Because here's the truth, if they truly believed they did nothing wrong, your silence wouldn't bother them. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't need answers. They wouldn't be questioning their own worth. But the fact that they are, that tells you everything you need to know. Because deep down, they know they took you for granted. They know they assumed you'd always be there. They know they made choices that led to this moment. And now, for the first time, they have to sit with that. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are destroying them. Because the longer you stay silent, the more they spiral, the more they overanalyze, the more they replay the past, searching for a way to convince themselves that they didn't mess up. But no matter how much they try, there's always that one truth they can't escape. You didn't fight for them. You didn't chase them. You didn't beg to stay. That alone shakes them to their core. Because if you really meant as much to them as they thought, why didn't you fight? Why didn't you try to fix things? Why didn't you do anything? And that's where the real pain sets in. Because now, instead of you chasing them, they're chasing a version of themselves they can't recognize anymore. They're doubting their own worth in ways they never expected. And the best part, you didn't have to say anything to make it happen. You just had to walk away. Number 4, they thought they had control. Now they're desperate. Let's be real, some people thrive on control. They love knowing they can pull you in whenever they want, that your emotions are still tied to their actions, that no matter what they do, you'll always react. But now, that control is slipping. And when people lose control, they panic. You see, when they walked away, they were confident you'd still be there. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. They expected you to check their social media. They expected you to overanalyze their words. They expected you to stay trapped in the cycle they created. But instead, you broke the pattern. You didn't react. You didn't beg. You didn't even acknowledge them, and that terrifies them. This is when desperation kicks in. The accidental likes on your social media, not an accident. The random, meaningless texts, calculated. The cryptic posts about missing certain people or realizing what matters. A desperate attempt to get inside your head. Because when people feel like they're losing control, they grasp at anything to pull you back in. But here's what they don't realize. You see through it now. You're not the same person who once clung to every breadcrumb they threw your way. You don't need their vague attempts at attention, because the truth is, if they really wanted to fix things, if they really had something meaningful to say, they would say it. But they won't, because this was never about love. It was never about real effort. It was always about power. And now that they don't have it, they're spiraling. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Right now, they are experiencing friction, the pressure of realizing they never had as much control as they thought. The weight of understanding that you're no longer playing their game. The pain of knowing that for the first time in a long time, you don't care anymore. That's what really eats at them. Not that you're gone, but that you're fine without them. They expected your silence to be temporary. They assumed that at some point you'd crack. But the longer you go without reaching out, the clearer it becomes. You've truly moved on. And now, they don't know what to do with themselves. Because losing you was never the real fear. The real fear was losing their ability to control how you see them. As long as you were reacting, they could still convince themselves that they mattered. But now they have to sit with the reality that you don't even think about them anymore. And that realization, it's destroying them. But here's the best part. That's not your problem anymore. Number 5. They start watching you obsessively. They won't admit it. They'll pretend they don't care. They'll act unbothered. They might even post like they're living their best life, laughing with friends, going out, acting like they've moved on effortlessly. But behind closed doors, they're watching you. They're checking your last scene, stalking your social media, scrolling through your old messages, asking mutual friends if you've mentioned them. And the craziest part? They don't even know why they're doing it. At first, they might tell themselves it's just curiosity, a quick check, a passing thought. But that's a lie. The truth is, your silence has made you a mystery. And the less they know, the more they need to know. You see, when you were constantly available, they took you for granted. They knew exactly where they stood with you. They never had to wonder how you felt. But now, they have no idea what's going on in your head. Are you missing them? Are you thinking about them? Or, the worst possibility, are you already moving on? And that uncertainty, it's driving them insane. So what do? They start searching for answers. They scroll through your posts, analyzing every detail. They check who you're following, who's liking your pictures, who's commenting on your posts. They try to figure out if there's someone new in your life. And the irony? The more they watch, the more obsessed they become. Because every time they check, they don't get the closure they were hoping for. Instead of finding relief, they find more questions. And the cycle continues. They can't stop themselves. It's like a drug, a habit they can't break. And the worst part, they know it makes them look desperate, but they can't help it. Right now, they're suffering in their own imagination. Every time they see you smiling, every time they see you unbothered, their mind starts racing. They wonder if you're happier without them. They wonder if they made a mistake. They wonder if they should reach out. But their pride, it won't let them. So instead, they just keep watching, keep lurking, keep driving themselves crazy with every update, every silence, every unanswered question. But you don't even notice, because while they're trapped in their obsession, you're too busy living your life. You're not checking their page. You're not waiting for their messages. You're not wasting energy trying to prove anything. You've already won. And that's what hurts them the most. Not just that they lost you, but that you're perfectly fine without them. Number 6. They want to reach out, but pride holds them back. Now they're stuck in a mental war. They want to talk to you. They want to break the silence. They want to know what's going on in your mind. But their pride, it won't let them, because if they reach out first, it means you won. It means they care more than they claimed. It means their ego takes a hit. And for someone who once thought they had all the power, that's unbearable. So instead, they suffer in silence, pretending they don't care, while secretly hoping you will be the one to break first. They convince themselves that if they just wait long enough, you'll cave, that maybe you're just testing them, that eventually you'll get tired of the silence and come running back. But deep down, they know that's not going to happen. And that realization, it's eating them alive. Because every day that passes without a text from you, their confidence crumbles a little more. They check their phone obsessively, convincing themselves they're not waiting for a message, but they are. Every time they hear a notification, their heart races. Maybe it's you, but it never is. And with each moment of silence, their pride and their desperation are at war. Their ego says, "Don't do it. Stay in control." But their emotions scream, "What if it's too late?" This is where the regret starts to hit them. They replay every moment, every conversation, every mistake. They start wondering if they should have handled things differently. And the longer you stay silent, the more that regret turns into panic. They want to reach out so badly, but the fear of rejection holds them back. Because what if they text you and you don't respond? What if they break the silence, only to find out you've already moved on? And this is why they're struggling. They're trapped. They can't reach out without swallowing their pride. But they can't stay silent without losing you completely. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Right now, they fear taking action, because reaching out means exposing their vulnerability. It means admitting that they care more than they wanted to. It means losing control. So instead, they do nothing. They wait, they hope, they suffer in silence. And you don't break, because you know that the second you break your silence, you give them everything they wanted. You give them reassurance. You let them off the hook. You give them back their power. But by staying silent, you force them to face themselves. You make them question their choices. You make them feel what they made you feel. And whether they ever admit it or not, they know you were the one worth keeping. Number 7, they either come back correctly or not at all. This is the breaking point. Some will stay silent forever because their ego is more important than their emotions. They will refuse to admit they were wrong. They will convince themselves that silence is a game, and they're not about to lose. They would rather suffer in pride than swallow it and do what they know they should do. And if that happens, good riddance, because someone who values their ego more than they value you. They never deserved you in the first place, but the ones who truly regret losing you, they'll return, and this time they'll know better. Because your silence has sent a message. You're not desperate. You're not begging for love. You only accept real effort and real respect. You are no longer entertaining half-hearted attempts, breadcrumbing, or lukewarm affection. They either come back correctly or they don't come back at all. And that realization shakes them. Because now, if they want another chance with you, they actually have to earn it. They can't just slide back into your life like nothing happened. They can't manipulate you with excuses. They can't rely on the old tricks that used to work. Now, they have to prove themselves, and that's not something everyone is willing to do. Some will try to test the waters, sending a casual "hey," liking your posts, making indirect attempts to get your attention. But when you don't react, they'll realize the truth. The only way back in is through real change. So they have two options. Option 1, they step up. They acknowledge their mistakes. They take accountability. They don't just say they've changed. They prove it with consistent actions. Option 2, they let pride win. They stay in their comfort zone. They make excuses. They convince themselves that it's not worth the effort. And by the time they figure it out, you might not even care anymore. Because here's the thing, by choosing silence, you changed too. You are no longer the same person they left behind. You've grown, you've healed, you've realized your own worth. And now, the version of you that once would have accepted their half-hearted efforts, that version is gone. As Epictetus wisely said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. You are no longer complicit in the cycle. You no longer respond to mind games. You no longer entertain inconsistency. So when they come back, they'll have no choice but to step up or stay gone. And either way, you win. If this message resonated with you, drop a comment. Hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful insights. See you in the next video.